There comes a moment in every life when the weight of the world feels too heavy to carry. When the storms don't just pass through, they settle in, shaking the very foundation of who we are. And maybe, just maybe, you've come here today carrying that weight. Maybe you've been knocked down more times than you can count. Maybe you've whispered to yourself, "I don't know if I can get back up again." But stay with me, because before this moment is over, I want to show you something powerful, something unshakable, that no storm, no failure, no broken past can ever take away from you. The world will try to break you. It will test your patience. It will stretch your faith. It will place obstacles in your path that seem impossible to overcome. There will be days when you feel forgotten, overlooked, and defeated. Days when your strength runs dry and your heart grows weary. But hear this clearly, you were not created to stay down. There is something within you that refuses to be destroyed. Something deeper than pain, stronger than fear, greater than every voice that has ever told you that you are not enough. You may bend, but you will not break. You may fall, but you will rise. Again and again and again. Because rising is not about never falling. It is about refusing to stay down. Every scar you carry is proof that you survived. Every tear you've cried is evidence that you still feel, still hope, still believe. And every time you've gotten back up, even when it hurt, even when it was hard, that was strength, not weakness, strength. And let me tell you something else. Your struggle is not wasted. There is purpose in your pain. There is meaning in your trials. The very thing that tried to destroy you is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more powerful than you ever imagined. One day you will look back and realize that what you thought was breaking you was actually building you. So when the world pushes you down, you stand firm. When doubt creeps in, you speak truth. When fear rises, you rise higher. Not because it's easy, but because you were made for more. And as you rise, you become a light, a living testimony, a reminder to others that no matter how many times life knocks you down, you can stand up again. So say it with conviction. Say it with courage. Say it until your spirit believes it. I will rise, even if the world tries to break me again and again. And this time, nothing will stop you. There are moments in life when hardship does not come as a single wave, but as a relentless storm that refuses to pass. It is not just one setback, but many. Not just one disappointment, but a chain of them, arriving one after another until you begin to wonder if life itself has turned against you. You try to stand and something pushes you back down. You try to move forward and something pulls you behind. And slowly, quietly, a question begins to form in your heart. Why does this keep happening to me? This is the reality of suffering that so many people try to ignore, yet so many silently endure. Pain is not always brief, and struggles are not always simple. There are seasons when the burden feels endless, when your strength feels insufficient, and when even hope seems distant. It is in these moments that the human spirit is tested most deeply. Not when life is easy, but when it feels unbearably hard. You may face rejection that cuts deeper than words. You may experience failure that shakes your confidence. You may lose things you once held close, opportunities, relationships, dreams. And with each loss, it can feel as though a piece of you is being taken away. And what makes it even harder is that the world does not stop. It keeps moving, expecting you to keep up, even when you feel like you are falling apart inside. Sometimes the pain is visible, but often it is hidden behind quiet smiles and forced strength. People may look at you and think you are fine, not realizing the battles you fight within. The exhaustion, the doubt, the silent prayers. These are the unseen struggles that shape your journey. And when these struggles repeat themselves again and again, they can begin to wear down even the strongest hearts. There is also a loneliness that comes with repeated hardship. You may feel as though no one truly understands what you are going through. You may feel isolated, as if you are carrying a weight that no one else can see or share. And in that loneliness, the temptation to give up can grow stronger. Not because you are weak, but because you are human. Yet even in this harsh reality, there is something important to understand. Suffering does not mean you are defeated. Being knocked down does not mean you are finished. The repetition of hardship does not define your worth or determine your future. It only reveals the depth of the battle you are facing. Life has a way of testing people, not once, but many times. It stretches your limits, challenges your faith, and forces you to confront your fears. But these moments, as painful as they are also moments of truth. They reveal what lies within you. They show you whether you will surrender to the weight of the world or rise in spite of it. And while the struggle may feel endless, while the setbacks may seem overwhelming, and while the pain may return again and again, this is not the end of your story. It is only a chapter, a difficult one, yes, but not the final one. Because even in the midst of repeated trials, something within you is still holding on. Something refuses to let go. Something is still standing even when everything else feels like it is falling apart. And that something is where your strength begins. There is a strength within you that does not announce itself with noise or attention. It does not always appear in moments of victory or when everything is going right. In fact, its presence is most powerful when everything around you seems to be falling apart. It is the quiet force that keeps you going when you feel like stopping. The unseen courage that whispers, "Try one more time," even when your heart is tired. This strength is not something the world gives you, and it is not something the world can take away. It is planted deep within you, beyond your fears, beyond your doubts, and beyond the opinions of others. You may not always recognize it, especially in moments of weakness, but it is there, steady, unyielding, and alive. There will be times when you feel like you have reached your limit, times when you believe you have nothing left to give. Your energy is drained, your hope feels fragile, and your spirit feels worn down by the constant battles you have faced. In those moments, it is easy to think that you are finished, that you cannot go any further. But that is often where your true strength begins to rise. Because real strength is not measured by how easily you move through life. It is measured by how you respond when life becomes difficult. It is revealed in the moments when giving up seems like the easiest option, yet you choose to hold on. Even if that holding on feels small, even if it is just taking one more step or facing one more day, it is still strength. This inner resilience does not mean you never feel pain. It does not mean you are unaffected by hardship or immune to struggle. It means that even when you are hurting, you do not allow that pain to define you. You feel it, you face it, but you refuse to be controlled by it. You acknowledge your struggles, yet you do not surrender your identity to them. Sometimes this strength shows itself in the simplest ways. It is in getting out of bed when your mind tells you to stay down. It is in choosing to try again after failure. It is in believing, even if only a little, that tomorrow can be different from today. These small acts may seem insignificant, but they are powerful. They are the building blocks of resilience. There is also a defiance within this strength, a refusal to accept defeat as the final outcome. The world may push you, circumstances may challenge you, and people may doubt you, but something within you says, "I am not done yet." That voice may be quiet, but it is persistent. It keeps rising no matter how many times it is tested. And the more you listen to that voice, the stronger it becomes. Each time you choose to continue, each time you rise after falling, you reinforce that inner power. You begin to realize that you are capable of more than you once believed. That what once felt impossible is now something you can face. This strength is not about being perfect. It is not about never failing or never struggling. It is about refusing to let those failures and struggles have the final say. It is about standing back up even when it is hard, even when it hurts, and even when you are unsure of what lies ahead. Because deep within you is a force that cannot be broken, a spirit that refuses to surrender. And no matter how many times life tries to push you down, that strength will continue to rise, reminding you that you are still here, still fighting, and still capable of moving forward. There are moments in life when everything you once relied on begins to feel uncertain. The plans you made do not unfold the way you expected. The people you trusted may not always remain. The strength you once depended on can feel like it is slipping away. And in those moments, when the ground beneath you feels unstable, you begin searching for something that will not move, something that will not fail you when everything else does. This is where faith becomes more than just an idea. It becomes an anchor. Faith is not about having all the answers or understanding every situation you face. It is not about seeing the entire path ahead or knowing exactly how things will turn out. Instead, it is about holding on when you cannot see clearly, about trusting even when circumstances give you every reason to doubt. It is the quiet assurance that there is something greater than your present struggle, something steady beyond the chaos surrounding you. In the darkest moments of life, faith does not always feel strong. There will be times when it feels fragile, when questions fill your mind, and when uncertainty clouds your heart. You may wonder why things are happening the way they are, or how long the struggle will last. You may even feel like your voice is unheard. But faith is not the absence of questions. It is the decision to keep believing despite them. When everything around you feels overwhelming, faith grounds you. It reminds you that your current situation is not your final destination. It tells you that even though you cannot see the outcome, there is still a purpose unfolding beyond your understanding. It gives you the courage to take one more step, even when the path ahead is unclear. Faith also brings a sense of peace that does not depend on circumstances. It is not the kind of peace that comes from everything going right, but the kind that remains even when things are going wrong. It allows you to stand in the middle of uncertainty without being completely shaken by it. It does not remove the storm, but it strengthens you within it. There is a quiet power in trusting when it is difficult. When fear tries to take over, faith speaks gently but firmly, reminding you not to give up. When doubt begins to grow, faith counters it with hope. It does not always change your situation immediately, but it changes how you face it. It lifts your perspective beyond the present moment and helps you see that your story is still being written. Faith is also deeply personal. It is not something that can be forced or borrowed from someone else. It grows through experience, through the moments when you choose to believe, even when it is hard. Each challenge you face becomes an opportunity to strengthen that belief, to deepen your trust in something greater than yourself. And over time, you begin to realize that faith has been carrying you, even when you felt like you were barely holding on. It has been guiding you through uncertainty, giving you strength when your own felt insufficient, and reminding you that you are not alone in your struggle. Even when the night feels long and the road feels uncertain, faith remains. It holds you steady when everything else feels unstable. It becomes the quiet voice that says, "Keep going," when you feel like stopping. And in that quiet strength, you find the courage to rise again, not because you have all the answers, but because you trust that you are being led through something not left in it. That is the power of faith. It does not promise an easy journey, but it ensures that you will never have to walk it without purpose or direction. There comes a point in the journey where rising is no longer just about surviving what you have been through. It becomes something deeper, something more meaningful. At first, when life knocks you down, your only goal may be to stand again, to breathe again, to simply make it through another day. And there is nothing small about that. Survival itself is a victory in moments when everything feels like it is working against you. But as you continue to rise, something begins to shift within you. You start to realize that getting back up is not just about returning to where you were before. It is about becoming someone new in the process. The pain you endured, the struggles you faced, and the battles you fought begin to shape your perspective. You are no longer the same person who was once broken by those experiences. You are someone who has walked through difficulty and come out with a deeper understanding of life. Rising with purpose means that your comeback is not empty. It is not just about proving that you can stand again. It is about discovering why you are standing. It is about recognizing that your life holds value beyond the hardships you have faced. That your story, with all its challenges, is leading somewhere meaningful. When you rise with purpose, your past no longer defines you, it refines you. The things that once seemed like obstacles begin to reveal themselves as lessons. The moments that caused you pain begin to give you insight. You begin to see that even in your lowest points, something was being built within you. Strength, patience, compassion, and wisdom. These are not things that come easily. They are forged through experience. There is also a clarity that comes with purpose. You begin to understand what truly matters and what does not. The opinions that once held you back lose their power. The fears that once controlled you begin to fade. You are no longer living just to meet expectations or to avoid failure. You are living with intention. And with that intention comes direction. Instead of wandering through life reacting to every challenge, you begin to move forward with a sense of meaning. You choose your steps carefully. You align your actions with what truly matters to you. Even when difficulties arise, they no longer shake you in the same way because you know where you are going and why you are going there. Rising with purpose also changes how you see your struggles. You no longer view them as meaningless pain, but as part of a larger journey. You begin to understand that what you went through was not just about breaking you, it was about preparing you for something greater than you could have imagined at the time. This does not mean that everything suddenly becomes easy. Challenges will still come. There will still be moments of doubt and difficulty, but now those moments do not feel empty. They feel like steps along a path rather than obstacles blocking your way. And perhaps most importantly, rising with purpose gives you a reason to keep going, even when the road is hard. It gives your struggle meaning. It reminds you that your life is not just about enduring hardship, but about growing through it and using it to become something more. So when you rise, do not rise just to exist again. Rise to live with intention. Rise to move forward with clarity. Rise knowing that your story is not finished, and that every step you take now carries meaning. Because when you rise with purpose, you are no longer just surviving the world, you are shaping your place within it. There is a powerful transformation that takes place when you rise, not just for yourself, but in a way that begins to touch the lives of others. At first, your journey may feel deeply personal. Your struggles, your pain, your determination to stand again. It may seem like a battle you are fighting alone, one that no one else can truly understand. But as you continue to rise, you begin to realize that your story was never meant to remain yours alone. Every challenge you have faced, every time you refused to give up, every moment you chose to stand when it would have been easier to stay down, these moments carry a significance beyond your own life. They become a source of strength, not just for you, but for those who are watching, even if you do not realize it. People notice resilience. They may not always say it, but they see it. They see the way you keep going despite the odds. They see the quiet courage it takes to rebuild after being broken. They see the determination in your steps, even when those steps are small. And in seeing that, something begins to awaken within them, a sense of possibility, a reminder that they too can rise. You become a living example that strength is real, that hope is not empty, and that falling does not have to be the end of the story. There are people who are struggling in ways you may never fully know. People who are silently fighting battles within themselves, who feel overwhelmed, discouraged, or lost. And sometimes what they need is not a perfect answer or a flawless life to look at. What they need is to see someone who has been through difficulty and still stands. Your resilience becomes that light, not because you have never been broken, but because you have been broken and still found a way to rise. That kind of strength speaks louder than words. It reaches people in a way that explanations cannot. It tells them without even saying it directly, if you can keep going, maybe I can too. And in that way, your journey begins to create a ripple effect. The courage you show inspires courage in others. The hope you hold on to encourages others to hold on as well. The strength you build becomes something that extends beyond you, touching lives, lifting spirits, and reminding people that they are not alone in their struggles. This does not require perfection. It does not require you to have everything figured out. In fact, it is often your honesty about your struggles, your willingness to acknowledge where you have been, that makes your story even more powerful. People connect with real experiences, with genuine perseverance, with the truth of what it means to fall and rise again. As you continue forward, you begin to understand that your life carries influence, not necessarily in grand, visible ways, but in meaningful, lasting ones. A word you speak, an action you take, or simply the way you carry yourself through difficulty can impact someone more than you may ever realize. And this is where your strength becomes something greater than survival. It becomes purpose in action. You are no longer just rising for yourself. You are rising as a source of encouragement, as a reminder, as a light in a world where many feel surrounded by darkness. Your resilience becomes a message that echoes beyond your own experience. So continue to rise, not only because you can, but because someone, somewhere, needs to see that it is possible. Your strength may be the very thing that helps another person find theirs. And in that, your story becomes more than a journey. It becomes a guiding light that helps others find their way forward.